welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well, at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here, episode 553 of Rams Up. We're going to be all over the place. This episode did not have a pregame pulse, obviously, or a quick reaction to the Rams game because there is no Rams game. But we're going to talk a little bit about what we saw this Sunday and some Rams news and notes and just a bunch of observations across the sports world, trying to focus primarily on our Rams in the NFL. But like I said, we will be all over the place this episode. Hey, it is episode 553, so let's talk about a player who wore number 53 100 episodes ago, I think it was. Jim Youngblood, the other Youngblood on that great Rams defense back in the day. This episode, Fred Strickland, a 6'3", 245-pound old-school inside linebacker, led the Boilermakers in tackles for 3 straight years. He finished his college career in second place in school history in total tackles with 479. Rams drafted him in the second round of the 1988 draft, the 47th overall pick, had 4 sacks in his rookie year, including 2 in the season finale against the 49ers, picked up another 2 in the playoff loss to the Vikings. In 1990, the Rams moved him to a new position they created specifically for him, nose linebacker. He rushed the quarterback, dropped back in coverage, and took on offensive linemen in the running game. On October 15th, however, he was placed on IR, and he had an injury in 1991, and that really limited his career and kind of blemishes our memory of Fred. He was a pretty good linebacker. Did he live up to second-round value? Maybe not, but he was still pretty good. Played those 5 years for the Rams, and then moved on to the Vikings, Packers, Cowboys, and Washington. Fred Strickland, our number 53 for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I was going to try to come up with a fearsome 50 observations for this episode. Man, that's pretty hard. I got a bunch here, though. The first thing I want to talk about is that Oregon-Ohio State game. If you caught that ending where the Oregon Ducks purposely, apparently, took a too many men on the field penalty. Now, what it did was it gave the Buckeyes a meaningless 5 yards while forcing them to run a precious 4 seconds off the clock. Now, it was only going to work if they did not allow the Buckeyes to pick up significant yardage, and I guess that was the point of running that extra guy out there. Force them to run some seconds off the clock. They get 5 yards. Don't allow the big play, and it worked to perfection. The next play, the Ohio State quarterback runs out the clock, trying to get into field goal position. Man, it was close. If he had gotten down 2 seconds earlier, that plan may have fallen apart. Would have taken a long field goal, though. The second thing I wanted to note is the Dodgers. Man, we got to be really happy with their position. And by the way, I know some folks don't want me talking about the Dodgers, but we're going to talk about the Dodgers on the Rams bye week as they head into the playoffs. And we'll do the same once in a while talking about the Lakers, UCLA, USC. That's just what we do. So bear with me if you don't want to hear this. But the Dodgers have 7 pitchers on IR plus 2 of their top prospects. Gavin Stone, by the way, is out for the 2025 season. Man, ouch. And my third observation, I know a lot of people are unhappy with Dave Roberts. Don't think he's a very good manager. But on this Padres series, he nailed it with the pitching and with maneuvering the defensive positions late in that Padre game. Masterful. And my fourth observation, has anyone else noticed what an incredible season it's been in college and pro football? Man, there have just been so many great games this year. USC, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Miami, California, Ole Miss, LSU, Ohio State, Oregon, Virginia Tech, Miami, 49ers, Rams, Chiefs, Ravens, Bucks, Falcons, Ravens, Bengals. It's been a hell of a year so far. My fifth observation, more of an opinion. If you forced me to answer this question, I think you'd be pretty safe betting that the Super Bowl is going to be played between either the Vikings, Commanders, Lions, or Niners against either the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, or Texans. Observation number 6, we have a Thursday night game coming up between the hopefully 2-4 Rams and the Vikings. Brings back memories, right? 2018 Thursday night game, Rams 38, Vikings 31, Jared Goff, 465 yards passing and 5 TDs. Hey, observation number 7 is a trivia question. Who was the kicker for the Rams in that game? I'm going to give you the answer right now. Give you a few seconds to think about it. The Rams kicker, Thursday night, 2018 Rams-Vikings game, Sam Frickin. Hey, observations 8 and 9 have to do with Rams special teams. Remember how horrible they were last year? Generationally bad on special teams. As of Sunday morning, they were the 12th best team in net average punting and 4th in punt returns. They had returned 5 punts for an average of 13.4 yards. Observation number 10, courtesy of SB Nation. Since going catchless in Week 1, Tutu Atwell has 281 yards in the last 4 games, which would put him on a pace for just under 1,200 yards. He's also leading NFL receivers in creating multiple steps of separation and is second on the team in receiving EPA behind Jordan Whittington. Observation number 11 is really a little bit of self-reflection here. I've been really bad on my Rams Up Straight Up picks identifying London games. I got to get better at that. My special assistant pointed that out to me. I just look at the schedule and don't really scrutinize where these early morning Sunday games are being played. Bad on me. I'll try to get better. Observation number 12, a little bit of Rams news. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, John Johnson, Steve Avila, and Jonah Jackson could all be back for that Thursday night Viking game. Cooper Kupp actually could be back the week before against the Raiders. Gonna be a surge of healthy guys coming back to the Rams roster. If we can get to 2-4, Rams are not done. Observation number 13 is a question. Let's say Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson come back and are ready to go. That Thursday night game against the Vikings, what do the Rams do with Bo Limmer? I say start him. I say keep him in the lineup. And I think we all know who the odd man out might be. I could be wrong, but good problem for the Rams to have. And also, Joseph Noteboom could be good to go by then, although I don't think he's an option starting, obviously, to some additional depth. Observation number 14, and this is courtesy of CBS via our friend Tom Courts. 35% of Major League pitchers have had Tommy John surgery. Pretty incredible. And talking about the Vikings again with my observation number 15, remember Johnny Munt, the tight end, with the Rams for 5 years, had 10 catches for 93 yards, 3 years with Minnesota, 45 catches for 387 yards and 3 TDs. Now, I'm not trying to make an argument for keeping him, but just another example of Rams not figuring out how to use some of their tight ends. Bryson Hopkins, Gerald Everett, Davis Allen, Hunter Long, dare I say Colby Parkinson. This list is kind of growing. And observation number 16, someone shared some videos on Twitter, and it was basically proposing that the Kansas City Chiefs are getting calls on offense that they shouldn't as far as pass interference goes, and their secondary is likewise getting away with pass interference. And talked about this with my special assistant, and we don't think there's a conspiracy going on here. We did agree, though, that there are some crazy breaks going the Chiefs' way late in games. Kind of strange, and I think it's really a result of who their quarterback is. And this team, they just get the breaks, they get the late calls. It's kind of obvious. We'll have to see if it evens out over the course of this season. Hopefully it does. Love the Chiefs, love the way they play, have a lot of respect for them. I just want to see them earn it late in games. Just not fair to other teams. These calls consistently going the Chiefs' way. That's all I'm going to say about that. Hey, here's another observation for you. There are a lot of really good rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, second-year guys as well. Drake May, Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels. But you got to love Bo Nix. I'm not sure where he's going to end up as far as, how good of an NFL quarterback he's going to be. But, man, he is a good interview. Guy cracks me up, and he had another good exchange with reporters the other night after there was video of him getting into it with Sean Payton, and he explained it as, hey, I told Sean I loved him. He said he loved me. That's what that was all about. Some of these observations could be shared in a loop around the league, which I'll be doing later this week, but number 18 here, the Packers hammered the Cardinals 34-13. 3 more takeaways via fumbles for the Packers. I think they're like +9 in the takeaway department. Now, there's 2 sides to this coin. Number 1, yeah, they are really good at taking the ball away. But number 2, if those takeaways dry up when it counts, the Packers may really come back down to earth. Observation number 19, Spencer Rattler got the start for the Saints, and I thought I heard it was going to be Jake Haener, and that's what I shared a couple of pods ago. My bad, but regardless, they are no match for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. And observation number 20, I had to weigh in on this punt return muff. This was the Seahawks muffing a punt in the 49er game on Thursday night that the NFL review office missed. They were the only ones that didn't get the enhanced video. I mean, there were viewers in Bangladesh that saw that for what it was, a muff, but the NFL office didn't get the vid. That's a really bad look. And observation number 21, I kind of called it. The Seahawks out to a 3-0 start. Now they're at 3-3. I just don't feel it for this team. Hey, they could end up squeaking into the playoffs. Hey, you know what? They could even end up winning the division. Not betting on it, though. But I think they have already come back down to earth. Now, after saying that, Rams better sweep them. The Rams need to sweep them. And I'm kind of betting on that right now. Now, observations 22-37. I'm going to cheat here. Speaking of the 49ers bouncing back with a win to get to 3-3, the odds-on favorite to win the NFC West, which they were at the beginning of the year. Is this the year they finally win another Super Bowl? Probably not. Don't tell 49er Nation I said that, but got me thinking it's been a long time since the 49ers won a Super Bowl, 1995 to be exact, over the San Diego Chargers. It got me thinking, to put it into perspective, what else happened in 1995? Well, here is a list, observations 22-37. In that year, 1995, that was the year Pamela Anderson married Tommy Lee, if you remember that. It was also, incredibly, the year Mississippi became the last state to approve the abolition of slavery. Mississippi, that part doesn't surprise me. That was 1995. That does surprise me. That was the year Michael Jordan ended his retirement, returning to the NBA. It was also the year Forrest Gump was awarded 6 Academy Awards. That was the year of the Oklahoma City bombing, 168 people killed. Pretty sad day. And it was also the year Alanis Morissette released her probably most popular album, Jagged Little Pill. It was also the year that President Clinton announced the restoration of relations between the United States and Vietnam. Yeah, that long ago. And it was also the year of the first exhibition game between two new teams, the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jags. That was the year Windows 95 was released, and it was also the year that 19-year-old Tiger Woods won the 95th U.S. Golf Amateur Championship. It was the year Xena Warrior Princess debuted, and it was also the year that Sony released their first PlayStation console into the United States. 1995, it was the year O.J. Simpson was found not guilty, and it was also the year the first ever full-length film to be created entirely using computer animation premiered in New York. That was Toy Story. GoldenEye is released starring Pierce Brosnan, and in California, the first ever transplant of baboon bone marrow is given to a young man as an experimental treatment for AIDS. That's a list of things that happened the year the 49ers last won a Super Bowl. And am I picking on the 49ers? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We kind of enjoy doing that here. I think we're up to observation 38. Didn't think I'd get that far. Did you see Matthew Stafford on the Fox pregame show with Jimmy Johnson and Terry Bradshaw? Nice to see Matthew get some national TV exposure. During the Rams bye week, I get it, but man, it is just so awkward with those guys. Bradshaw and Jimmy, a no-look pass from Matthew Stafford to Jimmy Johnson, and we even got to see it on replay. I don't know, man. Reminded me why I never watched that show, and the only reason I did is it was highlighted on a Twitter feed, and that's where I saw it. Does not work for me. Another observation for you here. As bad as this season has gone for our Rams, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Number one, they get the Raiders at home. That's a game they really should be able to win. The current line on that is Rams minus 5.5, a 1-4 team favored by 5.5. Meanwhile, the Vikings, our next opponent, will be hosting the Detroit Lions in a big game. Man, a big NFC North game that could go a long way to determining the NFC North Championship. Then the Vikings got to turn around and fly to LA to play a Rams team that could be getting a bunch of guys back. So maybe, just maybe, this is setting up good for the Rams. Coming off a bye, playing let's just call them a mediocre team, and then hosting a high-flying team that's coming off a big divisional matchup. Now we'll talk about the Lions here real quickly. Impressive win over the Cowboys. And I was starting to buy into the Cowboys for the first time. Been a real believer in the Lions for a few weeks. Who traveled to Minnesota for that big showdown. However, brutal injury to Aiden Hutchinson, one of their key players on defense, if not their key player, the leader of that defense. Don't watch it. Don't look at the video. He's going to be out for a while. Really sad to see. He's a guy you can always root for. High motor, super talented, real blow for the Lions. I suspect they're going to make a trade to try to bring in someone to fill that void because, man, he can really bring the heat. Key part of that defense, no doubt about it. Big blow for the Lions and big blow for Aiden. Man, wishing him the best. Hopefully it all turns out okay for him. Probably having surgery, I would imagine. Going to be out a long time. Let's just hope he can come back and regain that form that he's been showing since he came into the league. One of the best players in the National Football League, Aiden Hutchinson. And speaking of next week, this is observation 40-something, by the way. I think I have lost count. The Seahawks travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons. The 49ers host the Chiefs. The Chargers visit Arizona, take on the Cardinals. I'm taking the Falcons and the Chargers to hand those two NFC West teams losses. We can only hope the Chiefs can pull off the mild upset in Santa Clara. 49ers currently favored by 1. And if the Rams take care of the Raiders, are you still going to tell me the Rams are done this year? That would leave the 49ers and the Seahawks at 3-4, the Rams at 2-4, and the Cardinals at 2-5. And let's take it a step further. The 49ers have the Cowboys and Steelers after that. Let's say they lose one of those. The Seahawks, they get the Bills and the Rams after the Falcons. Could very easily lose both of those. And the Cardinals get the Dolphins and the Bears. Let's say they split those. That would leave the 49ers at 4-5, the Seahawks and Cardinals at 3-6, and the second place Rams at 3-5. Couple of final notes. I don't know if this has ever happened before, but as of Sunday night after this Bengals win over the Giants, my Rams Up Straight Up picks, I am 13-0, a perfect 13-0. And no, I did not place any parlay bets on this, or I'd be a rich man. And also the Dodgers, 9-0 win over the Mets in the opening game of the National League Championship Series. Seems like it's been since September that the Dodgers gave up a run. That pitching staff is nailing it. The Dodgers actually outscored both New York teams, the Mets and the Giants, this night. We'll be back in a couple of days with our loop around the league, some more picks, power rankings, and another roundtable looking ahead with Ian and Paul to the Rams-Raiders game at SoFi. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.